the news today, oh boy, about the lucky man who made a grave. And though his news was rather sad, I saw the photograph. He blew the mine out in a car, and he didn't notice that the light had changed. A crowd of people stood and stared, and they seen his face before. Nobody was really sure if she was from the House of Lords. Does the lyric sound familiar to you? It's from the Beatles' song A Day in Life in 1967. And according to John Lennon, the inspiration for the first two verses was the death of his friend Tara Brown. The 21-year-old heir to the genius fortune who had crashed his car. And Brown had been a friend of Lennon and McCartney for a long time. So it is my pleasure to be here today speaking at the AAA Foundation for the Traffic Safety of Teenagers Conference. And I hope to persuade all of you to be responsible for driving carefully of yourself as well as families. And I also like to share one of my own experience of a car crash happened in this March and how that accident changed my value of responsibility. I choose this story because it is typical in our society, especially in teenage group who have strong arrogant attitude and like to show off. And my friend Landy bought a brand new car right after her 18th birthday in this March. Even though she didn't have any driving experience, the car she bought was a very fast sport car with a 4.2-liter and a V8 engine with 354 horsepower. And one day, in order to show how fast her new car was, she invited three of us to hang out and ride on her new car. After finishing shopping at the Desert Hills Mall near Morongo, she drove us from the outlets to Pasadena. On the freeway, she drives on an average speed of 90 miles per hour, and the distance between these two places is about 85 miles. It usually takes 1 hour and 35 minutes to get there if driving under the speed limit. But it only took us 15 minutes to arrive at the city of Pasadena. I was shocked by her recklessness on the freeway, and I feared that something might happen if she continues driving like that. And I was regretting I only thought about it, but I didn't speak out. But unfortunately, my fear ended up with reality. When we almost arrived at the destination, we passed the empty road in Pasadena, which was perfect for racing. In order to show how the performance of the acceleration of the car, she slammed on the gas and the speed reached at 100 miles. I closed my eyes because I was so terrified and I never ride on a car with a speed over 100 in my life. And suddenly the force pushed me to the left. I opened my eyes immediately and I saw the road bend sharply right across the corner. But our car kept going at a speed over 90. And unfortunately, in that breathtaking moment, Lindy didn't know how to control the car. And she just simply slammed on the brake when the car was around the corner. At a speed around 90, her emergency brake made the car spin very fast and lose the control. All of us was terrified like statue in that moment, and nobody dared to make a noise. In that moment, I saw Landy had trouble holding the wheel tightly, and due to the severe vibration. In a second, our car was moving towards the telephone pole on the roadside at a very fast speed. Everything happened so quickly and it gave us no time to react. The front of the car hit the telephone pole with a fierce impact, and all of the airbags went off. And it hit my face, and I sat in front of the seat, and my right ankle crashed to the ground. All of us was panic because we was all stuck into the airbags. We could not move, and I smelled the burning rubber from the tires. I thought I was going to die at the moment when the car swerved off the road. I knew that we need to get out of the car because the car might be exploded after the crash. And we carefully stepped out of the car. I was shocked because the front of the car was ruined as the engine was exposed entirely. And moreover, the entire car was tilted towards the ditch behind the tree. It seems like it would turn over if one of us touched the car. Someone passed by and called 911, and the ambulance came in 10 minutes after we get out of the car. During 10 minutes we were waiting for the ambulance. Landy was crying and didn't know how to do it. The police was simply asking a few questions and asked the ambulance taking all of us to the hospital. Unfortunately, the boy sitting in the back seat didn't wear the seatbelt, and her nasal bone was broken and her eyes was injured. I was absent-minded at the hospital at that night, and I had a nightmare about a car crash. Landy's neck was hurt, and besides that, she sprained her feet and could not walk for a long time. The girl sitting in the back seat hit her nose and kept bleeding. The boy didn't wear a seatbelt, had the most serious injury. He needs to immediate operation with his broken nasal bone as well as the blood clot in his eyes. Worse still, the boy didn't buy any health insurance, which means that Landy has to take the full responsibility for this accident and has to pay the full medical bill for him. And a few days after, I was noticed that the car was discarded due to the severe damage of the engine. And Landy paid lots of money for our medical bills. And her whole family was upset and depressed about her irresponsible actions. This unforgettable experience had transformed my sense of responsibility as well as my value towards life. I started to realize that it is important to be responsible for our lives, and as well as the passengers in our car, because their lives are held by our hand. And moreover, it is not worth it taking our lives in risk just for fun, and our life should be cherished. I used to be a person who did not have a strong sense of responsibility for others in my life. I used to drive fast, about like 80 miles per hour on freeway, even more faster because when I have friends ride on my car, because I want to show my driving experience and my driving skills. But I never thought about the result of my action. After the car accident on March, which I almost lost my life, I became a responsible person not only for myself as well as my friends and families. I drive carefully right now, and when the speed sign says 65, I never go faster than 70. I drive more slowly and carefully when I have passengers with me, because I know that I'm responsible for all the lives on board, as well as my families, because if something bad happens, I'm the criminal who killed them, and I will also put my families on burden because I'm economically dependent on them. So once bitten, twice shy. After paying for her irresponsible action, Landy became a cautious people. She started to persuade people she met to drive carefully and wear the seatbelt at all times. So today, I share my own experience of a car crash happening this March. And I want to take this opportunity to persuade all of you to realize that you are in charge of all the people in your car, and you should not play with other people's lives. And over 30,000 people die in car accidents every year in the United States. The number is especially high for teenage group who just passed their driving test and started driving behind the wheel. It is important for them to know their responsibility to be a safe driver. And be responsible, drive carefully and slowly, and always wear a seatbelt. So our life is so precious, and we only have one of them. So why not be a responsible person and enjoy the lives when you are young?